by the history, the most successful and storied history.
Anybody else ought to throw the locker room up?
Welcome to another special episode of Nass the Pod, All NBA edition. This is my favorite discussion every single year just because it gets to highlight, the most impactful, talented, star players that our league has to offer. So, I don't even want to spend any more time, talking. I just want to get right into it because this is a special one. Special one to me. It's a conversation and discussion that I've had with my friends, my brothers for, years, like years and years and years, dating back to even before I even wanted to even do this for real. So with that being said, actually not, even before I even get into it, I want to just say, I'm going to list off a couple players that I am sincerely sorry after, a lot of in-depth research, analysis, looking back at games played, impact, stats, all that stuff. I sadly had to leave these guys off. So, Drew Holiday, Kyrie, Devin Booker, John Morant, Kawhi Leonard, PG, Trae Young, James Harden, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Lauri Markkanen, Anthony Edwards. I applaud you guys for, the amazing seasons you guys had. It's not like you guys didn't do enough to make my team, even though clearly you didn't, but I just want to tip my hat off for the effort that you guys made. I warned people. I can't say I didn't warn everyone. Last year, I warned people that, listen, there are a lot of guys coming back. All NBA is about to be insane, specifically at the guard wing position, but all NBA is about to be insane. So I just want to tip my hat off to those guys. And a couple of the players that I mentioned, those are my favorite guys. Everyone knows that, I'm a Kyrie guy. And, I had to leave him off. It's crazy. That's just how deep the league is. A lot of dudes in this league are having amazing, amazing campaigns, putting their teams in position to win. So, it's you can't please everyone. You really can't. Life goes on. So with that being said, I'm going to start with, I'm going to go from NBA. I'm going to go from my all NBA third team up. So my all NBA third team, my backcourt, De'Aaron Fox, Damian Lillard. De'Aaron Fox, someone who I thought was teetering, between, he was, for the past 2 weeks, I feel like he was teetering between first team and third team. Honestly, there's not one voter who I believe is going to get these 6 guard positions correct. I mean, De'Aaron Fox had an insane year, first time All-Star, arguably the best player on, third seeded, playoff team. Sacramento's making the playoffs for the first time in God knows how long. So shout out to all the Sac fans that have been, all the loyal fans that have been holding out, holding hope, didn't switch sides. I was someone that, I'm proud of De'Aaron Fox. This is a guy that I've said on numerous occasions that, listen, this guy is elite. This guy is that. He's showing a great high percentage at the rim. He really has evolved his game. He's now a 3-level scorer. He's been arguably the most clutch player in the NBA the past 2 years. If you go and look at his clutch numbers, they're insane. Obviously, like I said, King second seed in the West, 25, 4 and 6, 51 from the field. He's shooting 54% in the clutch, like I said. Great clutch performance. So shout out to Fox. I had him on third team. Dame Dollar. Dame Dollar. Technically, if we're really being honest, his stat line was good enough to make first team, but I had to. When you think about games played, Blazers are nowhere near the playoffs. I can't hold all of that against him, but at the same time, it's more so rewarding the guys that were able to produce and put their teams in position, to advance in the postseason and whatnot. So I had to hold that against Dame. But Dame's numbers were insane. I believe he was a top 3 scorer in the league. Third in scoring, 32, 5 and 7, 46, 37, 91 splits, 3 50-point games. He led the league, 15 40-point games, also led the league in that. So, shout out to Dame Dollar, man. That was my backcourt. My front court on the third team is Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, and then my center position I had Domantas Sabonis. Jaylen Brown, career year, like 27 a night. Basically, I don't want to say second best player, just because the numbers tell that, but he's been part of the Celtics engine, the whole year. The Celtics were off to like a crazy start. I think he went like 25 and 4 to start the year off. He's been one of the most consistent stars all year round. He was someone that I said earlier that I felt like was disrespected. I feel like he doesn't get enough respect. Now he's really established himself as legit an elite 2. And I don't think you can really name, like I said, I don't think you can name more than 2 guys better than Jaylen Brown. Shout out Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler. The Heat have been having an underwhelming season. It's more so their supporting core. Kyle Lowry project hasn't been that great. The Duncan Robinson contracts kind of bit him in the ass. But Jimmy's Jimmy, and playoff Jimmy is coming. Playoff Jimmy is coming. I don't know if it's going to be enough to give him over the hump. But, I do have to give him his credit. He's been really hot since the All-Star break. I believe he's 23, 6 and 5. Since the All-Star break, he's 26, shooting 60% from the field. That's insanity. 60% from the field as a wing. Gets the free throw line. His way of playing basketball, he's just a winner. Jimmy Butler's just a winner. He's just a winning basketball player. So, and he's still one of the more premier league 2-way wings that the league has to offer. So, Jimmy made my third, and then Domantas Sabonis. Like I said, along with De'Aaron Fox, 1-2 punch in Sacramento, second seed in the West, leading the league in rebounds, just a walking triple-double, one of the best passing big men that's not named Nikola Jokic. He's just a pleasure to watch. I'm sure he's a pleasure to play with, and he rounded out my third team. My All-NBA second team backcourt starts out with Donovan Mitchell and Steph Curry. Donovan Mitchell, who has dropped 40 points, at least 40 points the past 4 games. Best player on, a very revitalized Cavaliers team. Cavaliers team has a lot of quality players, star-level young players. They have a really, really bright future, but Donovan Mitchell is just, like I said about Jaylen Brown, he's right up there. When you talk about the 2 guys in the league, he's arguably, if someone came up to me and was like, yeah, I think Donovan Mitchell's the best shooting guard in the league, I'm not going to hate that. I feel like now we have a legit sample size. All Mitch needs, he just needs to get to the finals. That's really it. And I'm sure he knows that. But when you talk about playoff resume, regular season stuff, he's done the All-Star games, he's done the All-NBAs, he's done the numbers. We saw the 70-point barrage early on this year. He's a bucket. 28, 4 and 4. Shoots well from the field. This is a guy that puts up high quality shots. He makes a lot of them too. 48% from the field, can't hate on that. 87 from the line. 38 from 3. Donovan Mitchell was third in the league in 40-point games. And, the Cavs were a top 4 team in the East. And, that's something that we do weigh when you talk about All-NBA. Well, for the most part, it's how much do you want to weigh postseason success, or, how much do you want to weigh a postseason appearance to All-NBA? So, shout out to Donovan Mitchell. Steph Curry, the chef. I really can't say anymore. He is probably the most unlucky superstar this year because he was going to be an MVP finalist had he not missed as much time as he did and had the Warriors actually backed him up. The Warriors' weird year somehow just became literally one of the worst NBA road teams all year. 2 complete different teams. They're a complete different team at home and they're a complete different team on the road. And then you mentioned the 2 injuries that he had, 2 different stints where he missed his time. Obviously did not help. But, he's still 51 games, 29, 6 and 6, insane splits. He's just shy of 50, 40, 90, per usual. And, the Warriors, their 5-man unit of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Looney, and Draymond, plus minus, is crazy. They're still literally one of the most productive units on the court. So, Steph Curry is the engine behind that. We already know his impact when he steps on the court. He opens up the court immensely for everyone, and he allows, anyone and everyone to flourish. Just him breathing on the court, literally just him walking on the court, and the whole team will be able to eat. So shout out to Steph Curry. My wings. So my wings on my second team were I had LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Personally, two of the best players that I think of my generation. You know, watching them, you know, we can take the clock back to like the early 2010s, you know, watching them battle. Then we see them, you know, 2012 finals. Then we see them later again when KD goes to the Dubs. We see the battle again. He gets 2 finals MVPs against Bron. Back-to-back game 3 deep threes in Cleveland. Like, you can go back and watch the tape. Both of them were game 3 to take a 3-0 lead. And, you know, KD, that's when KD really, like, reminded people that, yeah, listen, I'm right there with him. So, now I had KD and LeBron. I know I'm going to face a lot of, like, backlash for putting those guys there. But when you got to think about it, like, the way I see it with KD and LeBron is, like, how many players in the league are better? Like, okay, you might have some guys that may have played more games. They may have more of a say to, you know, they might have a right. Like a guy like Laurie Marketing, like I mentioned. Most people would probably put him ahead of LeBron or ahead of KD. They might reward him because he's been more available. But when you really think about it, like, bro, come on. Are we really going to name 10 guys better than LeBron or KD? Or, I mean, I should really specify, are we really going to name 4 wings, 4 forwards that have had better years than LeBron or KD? I mean, I'll start off with KD. Obviously, everyone knows where I stand with KD. I still think he's arguably the best player in the world. A lot of people go Giannis. I personally still think it's KD. He's been undefeated in Phoenix. Every time he's on the court, they have not lost. You can't forget about the run he had in Brooklyn early on. I mean, Brooklyn early on this year with both him and Kyrie, they were a 2nd seed. They had a killer December. And then, you know, the meeting with Kyrie with the front office went sour. Kyrie requested a trade, and then he requested a trade. It was not his fault that, you know, the team went down. He was on the court, he was available, and he was producing at a very, very high level. He was my pick to win MVP this year. The MCL sprain, that kind of slowed that, but you got to think about these things. Like, am I really going to leave a guy that's shooting, over the past 24 games, he's shooting like 60% from the floor, mainly jumpers. Am I really going to leave a guy like that off? There's a legacy and legend part of this that we do need to acknowledge. There's guys like Steph Curry, KD, LeBron, like those. You're not going to leave those guys off of All-NBA. You know, Damian Lillard, there's not, like, those guys, you're not going to leave them off All-NBA. There's just, like, and he only played, like, 45 games. But let me tell you something. When KD was available for those 45 games, he was a top 3 player in the league. Slim money, killing it in Phoenix. LeBron James, 30 ball. He's 38 years old. You know, obviously we can talk about the record. We can talk about the Lakers' struggles. He's also someone that's been, you know, hindered with injuries. And this goes back what I was saying about, you know, older guys, a lot of miles, brittle bones. He's like 2nd all time in like minutes or playoff minutes, something like that. So, you know, time has really been, his body has taken a toll. So, you know, he was good enough to make my 2nd team. There's no way I was going to name 10 players that were above LeBron this year. No way. I don't know how many guys at 38 years old are going to put up, you know, his crazy numbers. I don't know how many guys at 38 years old are going to go, you know, 29, 8 and 6. Still shooting 50% from the field. That's LeBron. And then at the center position, I had Nikola Jokic. And as many of you know, we've had the NBA, the biggest discussion this year has been MVP. It's been Embiid or Jokic. Embiid or Jokic. Like, where are you going? Who's your MVP? Who's your call? Last year, if people do remember my last year's All-NBA episode, I had Jokic on 2nd team and I had Embiid on 1st team. And, I mean, Jokic ended up getting MVP. I didn't hate it. You know, I did not hate it. I mean, Jokic is insane. The way he, like I said, he's the most impactful superstar right now. I don't think there's any player in the league that would not benefit from playing with him. He can adjust to any play style. If you're a slasher, a guy like Bruce Brown, you can adapt. If you're a shooter like KCP, you can adapt. If you're a guy like Michael Porter, you can adapt. Jamal Murray, you can adapt. Like, his play style is just so convenient for, you know, players around the league. It does not matter what type of archetype player you are in this league. Nikola Jokic is so talented that he will enhance your ability on the court. That's just who he is as a player. And, you know, for most of the year, he was the front runner for MVP. I'm not going to lie to you. He was number 1 for a lot. You know, you saw the ESPN straw polls. A lot of people were pulling him for MVP, and I couldn't hate on it. You know, I really couldn't hate on it. I mean, he's arguably the best big in the league. Jokic is already a Hall of Famer, like, already. I just feel like he's going through the same, you know, MVP star level stress that Steve Nash went through when he was in Phoenix. And if you guys do remember, Steve Nash went back to back, and even though people like to, do like, oh, well, he won back-to-back MVPs, but was he ever the best in the world? I don't think anyone would say that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. Just like I don't think they would have said Steve Nash the best player in the world, but Steve Nash's impact on the court, him being able to have any sort of player adapt to him and it won't hinder the team or their success, that has to go into play. And I feel like we're seeing the same thing with Nikola Jokic. The difference is he just happens to grab 10 rebounds. He's like 60% from the floor, 40 from 3, 80 from the line. He's just one of those, rare unicorns. At the big man position, you just don't see that. And that rounds it out. So second team, I had Donovan Mitchell, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Nikola Jokic. All right. This is the moneymaker right here. Moneymaker. All NBA first team. If you want to be technical, this is the best 5 players in the league, but it's arranged by position. So that's really what it comes down to. So in my backcourt of my all NBA first team, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm so happy for him. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of the jump that he made. Because if we do rewind the clock, he was a Clipper, drafted by the Clippers. In 2018, they made the playoffs. They faced the Warriors. I don't know if it was 2018 or 2019, but there was a series that, he faced the Warriors and he showed some flashes. But this is a young, raw kid from Kentucky. The Calipari guard factory, like I told you, don't forget it. He's just another product of that. Great, long, I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect him to make this jump this year. He averaged 25 last year. I thought he was steadily gonna just, be a 24 to 26 guy. I thought he was gonna be kind of progressing like De'Aaron Fox. Shai Gilgeous, 31 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 51 from the field, 35 from 3, 90 from the line. He's 4th in the league in scoring. He is the only player since Michael Jordan to average those numbers, as well as 1 steal and 1 block a game. That has to go into play. The reason why he got the edge over a lot of these guards is because he's a two-way guy. His length, his athleticism, he's so lanky, he makes life difficult for a lot of guys on the perimeter. He's not an easy guy to go by. And also you got to take into account that OKC, their expectations coming into this year, no one expected Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to be an all-NBA guy. We can be honest. No one expected that. Out of all the guys I named, keep in mind, I said I left off Devin Booker, Kyrie Irving, Trae Young, James Harden. Those 4 guys specifically. Now, coming into this year, if I had told you that those 4 guys would not make an all-NBA team and Shai Gilgeous would, everyone would have looked at me crazy. No one expected this jump. No one expected this ascendance. No one expected the Thunder to be as competitive as they were. So, as the leader of the ship, don't forget Chet Holmgren. He got hurt earlier with this stress fracture. He was ruled out for the year. Things were very optimistic in Oklahoma City. Things were looking bright for them. But you got to keep in mind, even him, as young as he is, and I believe he's 23 years old, 22, 23. I think he's 23, 24, something like that. With those expectations, him being able to surpass that and potentially put OKC in a position to make the playoffs, I had to give him the nod, And he's also played 64 games. 64 games out of 82. The Thunder are, they're in the play-in, but that's my point, is they're not even really supposed to be there. The team is so young and raw. Jalen Williams, he's going to make an all-rookie team. He's a Rookie of the Year candidate. He's probably not going to get it, but he's going to be a Rookie of the Year finalist. Josh Giddey, just like Nikola Jokic, a guy that can just step on the court and he's just going to enhance his teammates around him. Great, solid player. And then, like I mentioned, Chet. Chet missing the year. So for Shai to steer the ship and be able to really help the Thunder grow, especially in year 1 of the Giddey, Shai, Chet Holmgren era, Jalen Williams, that's great to see. That's you like seeing that from your leader and him being able to take that now. So, shout out Shai Gilgeous. He's been consistent all year. That's really why he got the nod too. His two-way and his consistency. He just had to make it. I had him starting in my All-Star game. Even after the All-Star game, he came back. He continued, and I had to tip my hat off to him. So opposite him at the guard position is Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic. He's just too talented. He's too great. I know the Mavericks are in the midst of, kind of a downward spiral. They might not make the playoffs. I'm not going to hold that against him because he is not the one that traded. he's not the one that traded Dorian Finney-Smith away in the swap for Kyrie Irving. But at the same time, I'm not going to say that the Mavericks weren't, undergoing some issues throughout the year with Luka. I feel like throughout the year, the Mavericks were realizing that they really messed up the Jalen Brunson signing. Letting him go was a big, big no-no. And, we just heard him say how much he misses him. And, just looking back on it, it's kind of nasty. So it's almost, I don't want to say the Mavericks were desperate to make a move, but you could see that the wear and tear on Luka on a night-to-night basis, that is not sustainable. We saw it with LeBron in his first stint in Cleveland. The underwhelming talent. I think LeBron had one All-Star teammate before he went to Miami, and I think that only All-Star team was Mo Williams. So when you think about it, he's had Porzingis, he's had Brunson, he's had these guys. It hasn't worked out. Some of that may be on him. Some of that may be on the coaching staff, maybe the play style that they're, putting him in. Obviously, he's as talented as he is. Like, when you're that talented and you're a generational, foundational, legit piece for an organization and the face of an organization, you're going to do everything in your power to win ball games. James Harden went through the same thing. LeBron went through the same thing. It just happens to be Luka's turn right now. With that being said, I don't know where the switch is going to come, but it was not enough for me to hold him off the first team. Luka Doncic is 33 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 49% from the field. I don't want to put too much postseason success on him either, because that wouldn't be quite fair. Seeing that the Mavericks are literally one of the worst defensive teams in the league right now. Anyone can literally put up 120 points on them. I can't hold that against him. You know what I mean? He means too much to the organization. The whole team dynamic is completely different when he's not there. But it is raising some eyebrows about how can we really maximize Luka? How can we get the best version of, what is the best version of Luka? Because the best version of Luka is not this. It's not this. At least not right now. He's put up the numbers. He's made the All-NBAs. This is a guy that's made 3 first-team All-NBAs. This is about to be his 4th. I believe I had him on my first team last year too. So it's a little bit tricky, but the Mavs offensive rating, in fact, Mavs offensive rating is 115.9. That's good for 6th in the league. That's over the course of the whole year. Since Kyrie has come, their offensive rating has been like 120, which is good for like best in the league. That's tied with Sacramento, who's been number 1 all year. So the problem is not offense. Kyrie and Luka have pretty much figured it out. I don't want to put that against him. It's not like Luka's not a willing guy to give up the ball. There have been some questionable possessions, in crunch time, but that's just what happens when you have 2 guys that are so good on ball and that talented and that gifted of, with their scoring ability and dynamic, like off the ball, being able to score from 3 levels. It takes some time. They've been great together. They've been great. And you look at Kyrie's numbers, the guy who I left off All-NBA, the guy was 27, 5 and 5, just short of 50, 40, 90. And if you look back at his numbers, his stats statistically have been better in Dallas than they were in Brooklyn. They're not winning games, but it's not his fault that they mortgaged off their defense in order to bring him in. I can't hold that against Kyrie. I can't hold that against Luka. What I can hold against them is just them being able to be leaders in the locker room, being able to hold people accountable. And I'm sure they're already doing that. They're in the league. They know what they're doing. So Luka Doncic, he was opposite Shai Gilgeous on my first team. My 2 forward spots, I had Jason Tatum and Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is pretty easy. Jason Tatum, he's pretty much had one of the more complete seasons of all the superstars this year. He's one of the few superstars that was actually been able to play like the majority of the year. Let's see. Jason Tatum, 71 games played, 30 points, 8.9 rebounds, which is one thing I love about Tatum. And it's a lost art. A lot of wings don't want to rebound the ball. It's not like they don't want to. I don't know if it's like not cool to, but back in the day, a lot of these guys like Pippen and a lot of these wings, they go and rebound the ball. Like Tatum averages 9 rebounds a game, and part of you could be like, oh, he's 6'10", he should go get. But no, that's actually a lost art now. Guys who are that tall, it's not a guarantee they're gonna go and get dirty and go grab boards. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty and go grab rebounds. Rebounds means possessions. Possessions means opportunities. Opportunities to score points. Defensive rebounding is a part of defense. box your guy out. You're not letting the team possess the ball. So I just want to shout that out to Tatum. That's something I've noticed this year. It's impressed me. You think about all the generational wings: Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James. Now you have Tatum. You think about even ones before him, Carmelo Anthony. Those guys were not particularly guys that were averaging 8, 9, 10 boards a game. Maybe LeBron, but these other wings, it's not like they don't want to rebound, but you do have to give Tatum credit because of his motor. Him being able to, be that presence on both sides of the floor. And rebound's a lost art. Rebounding should not be a lost art. It should actually be talked about a lot more. For some reason, it's not. I don't know if it's not cool to rebound. I don't know. But, I just wanted to shout him out for that. He's shooting 46% of the field. The Celtics were the 1 seed most of the year. It's kind of hard to be an MVP candidate. Your team's in first place majority of the year, and then you don't make first team All-NBA. A guy like Tatum, a guy like Giannis, those guys have been basically 1-2 in the standings. Both MVP candidates. They're both going to be finalists. The numbers are astronomical, and so I couldn't really leave them off. Next to Tatum, obviously in the front court, opposite wing, Greek freak, Giannis, stat sheet stuffer. Like I said, he's going to be MVP finalist. He's going to make another all defensive team. The Bucks have been arguably the best team in the East all year. Personally, I think it's the Celtics, but the Bucks have been there. One thing people aren't really crediting Giannis is the Bucks have had some injuries. Chris Middleton didn't miss the whole year, but you do have to give Giannis credit that Chris Middleton didn't turn into himself till maybe a couple weeks ago, a month ago. Drew Holiday is a guy that always misses game here and there. Granted, he's his value is immense for the Bucks. So Giannis this has kind of been the first year that Giannis has had to really ride this shit by himself. Chris Middleton missed a lot of time. It took him a while to kind of get his legs back. Remind us who he was, a couple years ago, especially in the 2021 finals, being able to average 24, 25 a night. That clutch perimeter shot maker, that was something that the Bucks didn't have the majority of the year, and Giannis had to kind of overcome that. And of course, obviously, if he's the best player in the world, he should figure it out. But not all these guys can, and especially when you got role players as valuable as Chris Middleton, all-star caliber guys like Chris Middleton. When they miss time, you're gonna feel that. You're gonna feel that void. So I just wanted to shout out Giannis real quick. To be honest with you, I do think he has a very, very, very slept-on MVP case. I haven't picked my MVP yet. That I will leave for the next episode. But I do believe that Giannis's MVP case has been very, 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 very slept on. I mean, still 31 points, 12 boards, 6 dimes, 55% shooting. The Bucks have been, teetering back and forth with the Celtics for the 1 seed. Just like Tatum, though, I did mention last episode about the Celtics, how they've been suffering, the injury plague and whatnot. The Bucks have kind of been going through a similar thing. You gotta acknowledge that. I think that's really what makes Tatum and Giannis, that great. Them being able to be these two solid, versatile, two-way wings, and it's not even about dominating the ball, but they're just very valuable, very versatile players. They're two of the best versatile players that we have to offer in our league. Well, they both made my first team, and at the center position, I have Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, who just gave my Celtics 52 points on 80% shooting. Yeah, that really happened. I think he sealed up the MVP case, though I did just say that I didn't pick my MVP, but I think he might have just sealed it up. It's going to be hard to take it away from him. The most dominant force in basketball right now, I do think that's Joel Embiid. And you got to give it to him. 33 points, leading the league in scoring, 10 boards, 4 dimes, 55% from the field, 34 from 3, 85 from the line. Him being able, he was the scoring champ last year. People are still going back and forth if he was the MVP or if he should make first team. And, obviously we know recently how the NBA brought in their ruling that now lineups are going to be, positionless. I do agree. I was listening to Bill Simmons, the podfather, the original podfather, and he thinks that, this recent, new ruling about the new All-NBA teams being positionless, that is stemming from the past 2 years of Jokic and Embiid debates. People are disappointed, or people are raised that the top 2 MVP candidates can't both make first team All-NBA, which I do understand. But when you look at history, like I mentioned a couple episodes ago, Webber, Duncan, KG, Dirk, those guys had to go to war. KD, LeBron, Kawhi, Melo, like they did Kobe, D Wade, like bro, there sometimes your position is there's other talented guys in your position. Sometimes you're not gonna make it. You know what I mean? This whole position list, it doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, you want your All NBA teams to legit look like a starting lineup. You like if you go to the park and you say, okay, who was the first team All NBA from 2002? You want to see that lineup out there. You want to see a couple guards, a couple forwards, and a big. Not like next year, if the top 10 players in the league, if 7 or 8 of them are guards, are you really going to put 5 guards in the team? What does that turn into? That's going to cause a legit outrage. I don't know about the All-NBA ruling, but, anyways, shout out to Joel Embiid. Looks he's about to be a back-to-back scoring champ. It's kind of hard to leave a back-to-back scoring champ off of first team. He means a lot more to the Sixers than I think people realize. I understand he has James Harden, D'Anthony Melton, Tyrese Maxey, year 2. He took a jump. Tobias Harris. They have plenty of offense. But when you think about paint presence, rim protector, and then his shot-making ability from legit 3 levels, he's been the most dominant force right now. He's the most dominant force in the league right now. It's either him or Giannis, but I think right now he's got the crown for this year. And you can't argue with it. So he rounds out my first team. So yeah, man, that was tough. That was tough. You guys heard the names I left off, right? Like I legit left off like legit stars, like James Harden, Trae Young, Tyrese Halliburton. Like those guys were top 3 in assists this year, the majority of the year, and I had to leave them off. Like none of them made any of my All NBA teams. Now to the voters, James Harden might be the only one who might crack one. He might. It's kind of hard to lead the league in assists and you don't make an All-NBA team. And you also have to also give him credit that part of Joel Embiid's scoring barrage the past 2 years, James Harden's been a part of that. Max, he probably would have made third team if he got more consideration, but I just feel like De'Aaron Fox, Dame Dollar, like I just feel like they just been at a little level higher than him. It's tough. I just feel like James Harden's shot-making ability, it's been here and there. Part of that's the role. He's on the team to pass, make guys better, and kind of fill in, where the team needs scoring. But at the same time, it's like, this is James Harden. You know what I mean? This is James Harden. Like I said about the legacy, legend part of it, it makes me feel bad that I left him off. But like I said, life moves on. You got to make certain tough decisions. So I decided to leave him off. It's okay, because he knows I respect him. He knows I'm not a troll. He knows I didn't switch up on him. So, shout out the beard real quick. Oh, and John Morant. Shout out John Morant too real quick. You know what I mean? I said it on the NGSC show that, 23 years old, kids make mistakes. We all been there. We all been 23 once in our lives. So, but 27 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. The Memphis Grizzlies have not missed a beat since he's come back. I can't, hold that against him. Obviously, the suspension is tough. But he still played 59 games, and the Grizzlies are 38-21 with him in the lineup. I can't really argue with that. It's tough to really argue with that. Julius Randle, 77 games played. The Knicks are going to make the playoffs, and I couldn't put him or Jalen Brunson on the team. Insanity. Yeah, those were a couple of my guys that, I really felt bad leaving off. But, like I said, life moves on. So that is a close on another episode of Nass. That was an all NBA edition. Appreciate the time. Appreciate y'all coming in. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what your all NBA teams are looking like, man. I'm all here for conversation. I think it's time I get the Twitter space booming again. That was something I did last year. It's actually one of my biggest regrets this year is that I wasn't as consistent with the Twitter spaces. But I think with the playoffs looming, I want to see what everyone's really talking about, I want to see what's on people's minds. I want to see what people are anticipating. The playoff match is about to be insane. I already talked about my West playing. Like, the West playing is about to be crazy. I said that I had the Lakers and the Mavericks making it, and the Mavericks might not even be the one to make it. So that's going to be interesting. But, yeah. Twitter space is coming soon before the playoffs. All NBA wrapped up. Another great year hoop. I can't wait for the playoffs. And, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Holla. It's on the bottom. Hit the link. And if you don't, you a goofy. But if you do, I love you. Appreciate the time. Appreciate this. Peace. Be easy. Be safe out there. Cold world. Shout out to all my Muslims in Ramadan. And, yeah, Peace.